Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is B. Douglas, and as much as I would love to say that this whole no makeup, bare, raw face is a part of this week's video, it's not. It wasn't planned, and I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I just didn't want to put makeup on. I am exhausted and I have a lot going on this weekend, and I just did not want to put on any makeup. But while this whole face wasn't planned, this video was. Today we are going to be talking about the bare necessities, the skeleton, raw, bare beginnings of a book, a story. And how we're going to get there is ideas are a writer's goldmine. Without them, we wouldn't have characters, we wouldn't have plots, we wouldn't have anything. Especially not made up worlds, because, well, that's all in your head. However, everyone in the world has ideas, but for a writer, it's all about bringing those ideas to page. There are two types of writers in the world: pantsers, plotters. Those are the type of people that can take a simple idea or a simple scene or a character or a moment and run with it. They can create a full-fledged book and characters and plot lines and series. I can't do that. I get way too jumbled up and it's just a bunch of plot holes that never get filled. Which makes me a planner. But I didn't get that way in just one day. It took me a long time. I'm going to show you my tools and my tips and my ideas on outlining. And like I said, I'm still working on it. For my current work in progress says I'm trying a new route, which seems to be working. I'm going to have to twist it a little bit later on, but it's working. So let me go ahead and show you. Now, if you have not heard of NaNoWriMo, which is a National Writing Novel Month, you might want to look it up, especially if you're a writer. It is this entire month dedicated to writing. Write 50,000 words in 1 month and create your story. And you have an online community rooting for you and willing to help you and to root for you, which is amazing because the writing community can be scary and small, especially when a lot of them are online based. It's just nice knowing somebody out there knows exactly what you're going through, which is why I came across this beauty. Book in a month. And let me tell you, I was completely confused. I had no clue what I was doing. Even though I read through it and looked at all of the different graphs and ideas and tips and tricks that they offer, I still had no clue what I was doing because I didn't work well with what they had. And that's okay. There are a few charts and diagrams that I still use, which I enjoy. One of their big things in this book is scene cards. And I actually went ahead and took note cards, wrote down scene by scene, what point of view it was in, if they were alternating characters, what happened, what characters were in said scene, and about how long I want to make it as far as word count. But that got kind of jumbled up with the thousands of note cards that I have chilling in my desk. When I go to editing, I use note cards. Plotting, planning, yeah, not so much. But I learned, and I moved on. However, I found something that worked for me. And that is the Paper Hearts Workbook by Beth Rivas. To be honest with you, I hadn't heard of her until, when was it? ApollyCon 2017. She was there, she was in a panel, and I loved just listening to her. And when I found out that she had a workbook, and she also has an entire series, the Paper Heart series, for writing and marketing and publishing, I had to have it. And her book itself is very relatable because she's a relatable author. She's very, very relatable and very personable. Those are the same words, but still. This book helped me because I was able to see the flow of a story where you have your first act, which is opening up, meeting the characters, meeting the setting, meeting the initial issue. What she does then is she breaks it into Act 2, Part 1, which is the uprising. Something happened, and now your characters are moving forward, growing, heading upward. Act 2, Part 2, which you could probably guess, is the downfall. The harder, the struggle, learning more, actually doing what you were taught in the Part 1. Which I never really saw stories as that way, books and that. So just reading that and learning about that was very important to me and helped me a lot when it came to writing. And then, of course, Act 3, the end. Final wrap up, you get all the last scenes out, all the last little moments and the characters and all your famous quotes right there at the very end. Beth Revis also went ahead and made it so you can actually work right in the workbook. It is what it is, it's a workbook. You can add your characters, you can add notes, and they have journal spaces, note spaces. It's really nice, actually. I was able to do this with the Hollow Cry, and just looking back on it, I can see where I could have grown, where I could have focused on more, and what I could have just really avoided. One of my favorite diagrams in this workbook is what she is calling the flowchart. What to do when you are stuck. And it is your basic yes-no flowchart. Starting with what happened before you got stuck. Was there an issue or anything like that? It all starts with what happened before you got stuck, which branches off into either an action scene or an emotional scene. Following through with the emotional scene, that then branches off into, oh no, a surprise death, or oh no, bad stuff coming, run. Both of which go down to time for an action scene. You had emotion, time for action. And then she asked, are you unstuck? If you are, keep writing. If not, what's the absolute worst thing that can happen to your main character? Make that happen. As simple as it may seem, it has helped me quite a bit in writing, especially in A Tainted Light, because I just did not connect well with the story. But like I said, that is where you grow as a writer. However, I was finding that I was still having issues getting the plot to flow. It almost seemed too jumpy to me, if that makes sense to you all. Or I was not getting what I wanted as far as actions and scenes and moments to happen. Even though I'm sitting in Act 3, I wanted this to happen beforehand. So what I found myself doing, especially in A Hollow Cry and A Tainted Light, is literally make a list of shit. Shit that needs to happen, actually. Try not to give a little bit away, but that's what I'm looking at with The Tainted Light. It is a list of stuff that I want to happen still. And I will make side comments if this should have happened earlier, or this should have done this, or just, this here, this moment there, this character should appear, this character died there. But I was finding that I was having a harder time putting events where I wanted them and not making this whole book either boring or extremely long. And you do not want to do that. There are several people, and when I say people, I mean writers, that have talked about Save the Cat. And you're probably wondering why we're saving a cat. But it's not an actual cat. It's a figurative cat. Jessica Brody made Save the Cat Writes a Novel. She took the original Save the Cat book and guideline and beat sheets and the whole entire theory and twisted it into writing a novel. I found it at the Barnes & Noble in Pittsburgh, PA. And I honestly fell in love with it. I was able to learn a little bit more as far as the whole broken down beat sheet. It basically does a whole formula of where things need to go in your story. And yes, not every story is a full A, B, C, D, there you go. It's maybe there's an A, there's a C, there's a B, and then there's the D. But it's all different. Every writer's different. Every book is different. However, Jessica Brody went into great detail on how these scenes and how these actual beats should be used in a story, and outlining and planning. A little different from what Beth Rivas did. She only breaks hers down into actually 3 acts. While Beth Rivas actually has Act 2, Part 1, and then Part 2, Jessica Brody broke it down into Act 2, which includes fun and games. And then after the midpoint beat, it is bad guys close in. Which, if you think about it, it's the same thing. But having that initial understanding of how a book should flow from that Paper Hearts workbook helped me understand a little bit more. And I have, with my current work in progresses, been using beat sheets. And I actually really like it. There are a few things that I'm not a big fan of when it comes to actual beats and stuff like that, as far as where they need to go. But like I said, that's going to vary. Not every story is the same. Not every story is going to start the same way. Some books start in the middle of the action. Others start afterwards and you go back to the beginning. And some, you wake up like it was any other day. Nothing's the same. Nothing in the writing world is going to be the same. What works for you won't work for somebody else. But you can learn from it. Take little pieces of what you like. Well, I like the different scene cards from the Write a Book in a Month, where I can compile what characters I want in each scene. And I think of the different parts of the storyline from the Paper Hearts workbook. And then I dive deeper with Save the Cat. And honestly, it has helped me so much. I wish that I had Save the Cat to rely on when it came to A Hollow Cry and A Tainted Light. But that's all right, because I'm growing, and you're always going to be growing. Whether you have published 1 book or if you've published 100, you're going to learn. Your writing's going to get better, because you know what? When you first start out, that is when your writing is the worst. I'm not saying that your book sucks or your story sucks, but you as a writer are just starting out. You can't be at the top until you're at the bottom, and that's just how it is. And that's why I always like to emphasize on making your experiences into learning experiences with editing, and especially with outlining. Find what works with you. And if you are a pantser, bless you, because I wish I could do that. I really do. But it's a mess, and we don't want that at all. Like I said, everyone is different. Take what you can, look at books and different, author tubers. You can actually go online and look at different forums and writing coaches that will offer you different diagrams and critiques and tips and tools. Search for them. Until you find something that works for you, keep looking. And like me, I didn't know where I wanted to be. And if you're like me, you could be in the middle of editing your second book and wishing you had a completely different outline plan from the very first chapter that you ever wrote in the very first book that you published. Yeah. But like I said, it's a learning experience, and please take it as that, because you are going to grow. And one day when you have an entire shelf of your own books and you can walk into Barnes and Noble or Chapters or Books A Million and see your name, you will look back and think, oh, wow, I'm glad I learned that. I'm glad I did this. I'm glad I did that. And don't be so hard on yourself. It is a struggle, especially with outlining. And even if you're a pantser, you're trying to figure out how to piece everything together. And it is difficult. But don't get overwhelmed and don't rush. And please, do not just throw stuff in a book to make it, just to fill the pages. Don't. Make it yours. And if you are stuck, or if it takes you 7 years to write a book, take those 7 years. Learn and take your time. I am going to go ahead and attach links down below there where you can take a look at the 3 different books that I use. And if they work for you, great. And if they don't, they don't. But try something. Look into it, especially if you're having a hard time or feeling as if your story's not flowing how you want it to. Try something new. Step out of your little box and save a cat. But I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you all here next Sunday. Don't forget to subscribe and then follow me on Instagram. And work hard, busy bees. Write your story, find what works, and go.